So part of what's wrong about how we've gone over, which is everybody wasn't sure, and so now we're going to make silly commercials poking fun at me about the Springs and Rickover, and everybody wants to see me but then pretend. So that we went past, right? And then now we're in a new cycle that isn't healthy either. And the new cycle is that I'm supposed to do everything because I am, and everybody else can hide and wait to see what I'm going to do and not do anything. Well, we have no world peace if that's the approach. When the I am happened here in the garden, when that actual process of divine union happened, my sense was that the most constructive way I could move forward was to only be functioning as divinity, meaning satsang, teaching, healing, or prayer. But because nobody's doing anything and everybody needs something to be done, I'm trying to figure out how to write emails and do Skype and things that are you should not ask divinity to be doing, because it's degrading you. It degrades you if I go to your ashram and 4 times I'm turned away. The one who admits you into the gates is told she can't come onto your compound over a 10-day period. That hurts you. And that isn't to shame. It's to indicate how amiss we are when we don't know how to behave. Divinity should be being served while she's here. And again, when you say humility, people bristle because we only know how to hear that through the ears of domination. Or if I say served, we only know how to hear that as a lackey. No, what that means is that in an open way, the whole world can be open. One of the things I've tracked is people thought, well, we have to keep from this country, it's a secret if we work with her. And so people have found secret ways to tell me they're working with me. You know, at one point I had released a teaching that was about wanting to make sure that in the new heaven and new earth we had goats, because we can use their coats for warmth and their milk for nutrition. And anyway, when I was in a crisis one day after I'd lost my the recent trauma with the pregnancy there about 2 months ago, and everybody knew I was falling apart, I got up one morning, and to try and reassure me that they weren't ignoring me as the one, I walked down the street, and about 20 times people came running by with goats to say, look, we're working with you. Look, but we don't need to do it that way. Again, every country can have goats. Every country can work with the treatment manuals. And that's what we're going to shift through this year, is that this is global healing, and it's global hope. It's not global shame and global punishment. It's global healing and global hope. And that's why I love being transparent. So we all can see that we don't need to be ashamed. And I'm going to do, as part of the tent ceremony, some storytelling about some funny things that happened to me along the way here as a little mother who'd had sexual abuse. So what would you like to add about anything I've said? Anything come to you?
Well, I think just that last part you said about hope and healing, that a lot of where I've been is on camera or not on camera, sort of embodying the opposite of that, or just that stuck place. And I feel like the hope and the healing is something that I really feel is okay now. It is happening now, and so I just I feel the truth of that, and I'm inspired by that.
Right. You know, the garden I always said was the heart of healing. And I noticed recently that that on my website I have a broadcast called The Heart of Healing, which is about how there's this phenomena with the darkness in a dissociated state taking the firstborn girl. Now, my teaching, the main teaching about how we do this in a way that really is world peace, is that the heart of darkness is the heart of light. So the heart of healing is that teaching, and we listen to it and we can bear it. People can't bear that teaching. There's a lot of pain. If we can't bear it, then we don't get the heart of light, because it's the same heart of healing. The same heart of healing is that I am here in the garden and I bear a divine child through consecration of divinity, and those who are the teachers and the leaders of the world hold me so that this child is born safely and well. So we only heal where the heart of darkness is by a do-over with the same cast of characters, if you will, the same dark lodged and stuck places being where we go with open hearts, and then it becomes the heart of light instead of the heart of darkness. Now again, as this daughter asked me to really get, you and I are the exception. So I do not expect any son or daughter to try and do this level of counseling with their perpetrators. I'm here to make it safe for each of you. I'm here to make it so that you can discern once you're in the safe container of the garden what the best thing is to do with your communities. And you'll know because you're all empowered and you're all, it's a round table. But you don't get a chance to know if you don't get to be in the safe container. So my one words of counsel for you, I know some good things ahead for you. One is that there's a really wonderful journalist who's about to be part of our story, who's a really good man. Really, really good. And he's been looking for the truth, and he doesn't want the truth in duality anymore. He's tired. He's been telling the story of duality for a couple of decades now. So he's ready for me to help teach him the one, right? The one way, which is neither good nor bad. And he or I are going to do some work together, and he's going to work with you as a friend, a real male friend. And then there's a woman friend who you've known before, who's also in film, and she's older, and she really is excited to keep her healing up. And then, of course, eventually, you have the spirit house to lead with your twin. So you've got all kinds of wonderful ways that you're going to use that tail feather that don't involve being between me and the world anymore. But at the same time, don't send you out in the world in a tragic or dissociative, fragmenting, or unsafe situation.
Well, that's exciting. I'm to have friends again who want to do this healing work it means a lot to me.
Yeah, friendship is the heart of healing. That's why our new way of describing who we are is the universal friend. And as universal friend, how I'm going to lead us is with a lot of wonderful stories, with laughter and tears that comes from being vulnerable with each other, instead of ashamed, instead of the boys who were taught they had to hurt by their mothers, thinking they need to hurt this mother, or by the girls being mixed up about sex in their bodies, and all the confusion we've had around pregnancy and all the rest. No, it's just going to be the campfire stories and making memories and having our friends be safe again and making a whole world that is a warm tent.
That's good, a warm tent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a warm tent. And we may even have some tents here because we may have more here than we have rooms because the billions are going to start to flow in. And for sacred land, we may even have, I was thinking it might even be nice because we're going to work with the natural environment to have teepees. But we're not nomads anymore. So we don't have to have teepees. We can make all kinds of homes just out of whatever our natural environment is. But we have this big winter, and the big winter isn't meant to be scary. It's meant to be part of the earth doing what she needs to do and working to help humanity. So it might be a little bit premature for me to be talking about eternal springtime. And again, what's going to happen with the earth and what's going to happen with humanity is only hope. Everything that is happening with the earth and humanity is to help us to reorganize rather than feel condemned. We don't condemn. That's the point. The point is, if you believe in the Christ, there is no condemnation. And that's one of the reasons why the bread of life is so important. I am going to take a minute to talk a little bit about that from a non-denominational perspective. No, I'm going to do a separate teaching. It's too sacred and too momentous. For today, we've discussed hope. We've discussed you and all sons being captains who don't need to desecrate the feminine because the mother betrayed, can forgive mothers because mothers didn't know they were doing it. Mothers didn't mean to be called Angela Lansbury's. They wanted to be kind mothers and good mothers. They wanted to make nice, happy houses and good meals and only had big hearts. But they got hurt. So that's why there's no bad guy here. There's mothers that got hurt and sons that got hurt and fathers that got hurt and daughters that got hurt. And so we blow the whistle on not the whistleblower in the frightening way, where a journalist is someone who's going to expose something and then we're all going to lock each other up, but blowing the whistle in the way that we say, it's time, time, and then everybody stops where they are in the bouncing of the basketball. I used to love to play horse, and that's not horse, and I'd bounce the ball and throw it in the basket. And if you blow the whistle and you say, all right, now it's peace. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do peace. And so that means that there has to be a pause. And we have to figure out how to move in a new game. That's why one of the symbols I introduced at the beginning was the black and white soccer ball. The whole world loves soccer. It's huge. And it's also a very powerful symbol of the black and the white in unity. It's round. It has 6 sides, the hexagon. And everybody gets to win. I have a new way that we're going to play this, and it's going back to the ancient tradition of the original way we played soccer. Did you know the Mayans?
The ball game, yeah.
And they would not do their hands. Do you know? Tell me.
Oh, I don't know. I knew they had a ball game. I don't remember anymore. I took a class once.
Right. So I think this is where soccer comes from, and they would not be able to play except for using their heads, I think. I think the ball had to bounce only on their heads. And the reason why is because the Mayans are part of the children that came out of the bottom of the sea, which is where I came from. So it was a game to remember how to play as dolphins before we had hands. And so, dolphins only had this part of their body. You just did the dolphin the other day. So we're going to do a lot of global healing with games like that. And a new rule, which is that it's only a goal if you get it into the other side's, get a point for the other side. So just like we talked about my poor son, who's so mixed up about domination that he thought that he'd make a deal and he'd get into the garden if he got the money, but if I wouldn't do that, he wouldn't help. Well, that's not the way we play this wonderful game of the world. I don't even know sports, but the world peace is that we have this way where if you want to make a goal and get a point, you score for the other country.
I like that.
Along with storm in a teacup, for the sons and the daughters each to have a way to have fun playing. Because it's okay that women can be women. We're not a lesser gender if we want to make a cup of tea to give someone and say, come sit beside me. And it's okay that boys like to be out there and be active and dynamic and run around and have all this energy. Because boys have a lot of energy as part of their hormones and their being strong and virile. So boys can be boys and girls can be girls. And girls don't have to think that they're less or more because they know how to act like a boy. And boys don't have to be mixed up and act like girls. That's been part of the trauma. So boys are going to be boys and girls are going to be girls. And if you're mixed up or you think you like being one way or another and it's a mixed up kind of thing, you're not in trouble. This isn't to say that if you're a boy who wants to be a girl or a girl who wants to be a boy, that's a bad thing. As a matter of fact, just one last story for today. I never know when I'm crossing into different dimensions or in more than one dimension as a Holy Spirit. So it's not like when you're driving and you get to the border and it says Arizona, which is, by the way it's going to be for all of us. There's not going to be any more borders like that. It's going to be one world, and the world is called the New Jerusalem. And there's a New Jerusalem in the Himalayas, and there's a New Jerusalem in Peru, and there's the New Jerusalem in Scotland, and there's a New Jerusalem in Arizona. So I don't know when I'm crossing into different dimensions. I'm just kind of going along. And I was having a day, and everybody was getting really wound up across dimensions because I was starting to emerge. And I was living in my sweet little apartment in Boulder, and I went for a walk, and it was an interdimensional walk. So there was a lady from one dimension who was had pushing a baby in a carriage, but she was sort of like a robot lady. She wasn't really a real lady, and she was there kind of in a way that was trying to trap Mother's energy. And then there was a beautiful two-spirit, speaking of being okay to be boys or girls and boys and girls, and that not being something that I would want anybody to feel ashamed for. A really, really wise two-spirit, which is a shaman who is masculine and feminine. Well, I guess you'd call me a two-spirit. And this two-spirit was sitting in the middle of my walk, right? I'm walking through a residential suburban neighborhood, and there's a two-spirit sitting on the lawn with long, beautiful black Native American hair. And then I saw another, I guess, dead person who was more like a leprechaun or something, and he was sitting on a bridge I crossed, swinging his feet. And so the two-spirit didn't know that I could see the different levels of dimensions. But then all of a sudden, because I could feel the vibration of the robot lady with the robot carriage, and I got really upset. So I went and I circled around her to bind her from trying to bind me. And then the Cherokee, sitting on the grass, started laughing because she realized that I could see her. She didn't know that I could see her, because typically between worlds, people don't notice each other. And so then she just started laughing and she said, "Hi." And I said, "Hi." And that's kind of what I'm doing with today's broadcast. I'm saying, "Hi, I am the one. I am here to serve you. You have every reason to hope. We have nothing but open and safe ways to move forward with this global dissociation. There is no shame. There is no prison. There is no bad guy. There's reorganizing the game horse into peace. And part of how I'm doing that is I'm asking my spiritual leaders and my political leaders across faiths and nations to take a time out. I'm blowing the whistle and saying, come into the garden. I'm here to rehabilitate you. I'm here for the safe container to serve you and for us to serve the world, the New Jerusalem. So anyway, just to continue that day, then word had gotten out to some other indigenous communities in the Colorado Four Corners area. And I got on a bus, and there was a, what do you call the one that is really like a Bigfoot, like a Yeti? A little bit like a Yeti, but not quite a Yeti, a human Yeti,
Sasquatch?
Sasquatch. What's a Sasquatch?
I think just to me it seems the same as a Yeti.
A very handsome, but he was more human. And anyway, he was riding the bus with me, and then he was kind of did a loop around my home to help bless it. And so there's been all kinds of ways that I've been experiencing interdimensional friendships, healing, and support. And why I love shamanism is it's very close to the ways we work in heaven. So in heaven, if you have something that is imbalanced, you don't go at it and cut it out with Western medicine that uses the things that go into, what do you call that, make incisions or whatever.
Sutures?
Yeah, you don't cut, you don't do anything like that. In heaven, if there's a problem, you love it into being from a heart of darkness to a heart of light. And we all are capable of that kind of love. You loved me enough that you allowed that to be true, that you are the brightest son of God, and there was a time you were working the most against me one-on-one. That's forgotten. It really is forgotten. All I see now is this face of a really good and dedicated young man. Integration. I see integration in your dear eyes. So anyway, it's always an interdimensional adventure with me. And those who are coming forward with me across nations and faiths are going to keep moving us into interdimensional leadership. but there's not going to be a sign that says you've entered another dimension. You're just going to naturally end up here because you love God so much. And I have interdimensional friends in the garden, and they go on to other dimensions, and they work back and forth with me. So an example is yesterday I taught about how the divine feminine branch of the antlers of the One was stumped. It was underdeveloped because of the wounding of the masculine and feminine. And so where I'd done the teaching on that afterwards, some of my interdimensional allies had taken a tree branch that was just like that, and they had mended it by putting a bunch of points with branches, broken branches pieces to make a hole, so that, and that's how we do healing in heaven. And you don't just do it that way, you do it with this intention, and now the divine feminine is just as in balance in her power as the divine masculine. And that's what I taught you in swimming. Now, I don't want people to get all stressed out and try and make a mountain out of a molehill, but I want you to know that if you have any wounding in your life, the way we heal is we use our imagination and we use our bodies and we use ceremony, privately, publicly, pipe ceremonies, the sacrament, the bread of life, and that's how we heal this. That's vibrational healing. That's not some weird woo-woo thing. It is the way that love works. And it's the way love makes a new painting on the canvas of the earth and on the canvas of humanity.
I think what just comes up for me is faith as well, and that, like Yeshua says again and again, your faith has made you well. So for me, I noticed that when I do that, really believing that the vibrational healing is happening is when it does.
Right, that's absolutely true. Because those antlers could be nothing. Let's say I wasn't attuned to the love that was done in the ceremony that put those antlers and made those points. It wouldn't have worked. But I saw the great reverence, and I saw the intention to give the divine feminine a natural springing of her points, so that that side of the tree of life is just as hardy. If I didn't have faith, and then if the ones who didn't have faith, it would just be a bunch of twigs laying on the side of the road. So this is so important what you're saying. Faith. And faith is trust in God. And that's the big differentiator between those who enter heaven. Do you think the way that dear man spoke to me, I hear I'm supposed to go to you, where was the trust in that? And where was the faith? It was a wounded little boy who wanted his way and imagined I was banning him, and he had to put up with talking to me to get what he wanted, which was pass me into the real heaven, instead of understanding that the moment he speaks to me, he's entering the real heaven, and that there is nothing on the other side. Part of the struggle with Daniel Jacob is some people are so wounded that they just wanted me essentially to function as a container. And that's why we don't get Daniel Jacob just yet. It's one of the reasons, is that Daniel Jacob will always, always honor his mother and father. His foundation for everything is who we are. And people who want to rush past me to get to him are stopping his coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Heaven is here. Always meant heaven is here. Heaven isn't something I'm going to get you to and you're going to get past me. This is heaven. Heaven is here.
Heaven is here.
Yesterday I was sitting in an open space. I really love every single person that's on this grounds. They're all extraordinary. And one of the people has some bad bone pain. And I was sitting in a way that really made my field easy for her to draw upon. And you're talking about faith. And there was faith there. And I felt the pain in her bones for a moment. And I trust she felt the absolute clearing because of her faith. Now, sonic healing comes out of the One. And sonic healing is the boom between heaven and earth that unites us. This is what's exciting. The new heaven and the new earth means that right now I'm really close to, and at night work a lot with sonic. I experience a lot of sonic closeness with those who are in heaven right now, meaning the ascended masters or angels or very humble and loyal sons and daughters of God. And they like to try and help me and talk with me and guide me. But the sonic vibration, it's strong enough I can actually palpably feel the sonic tenderness of the heaven that exists now. We're working toward a sonic boom that makes it so there's nothing to stitch up, there's no tear, it's just this natural sonic boom. So 2 examples of little sonic booms that are helping us along the way. I don't know if I mentioned that on the 4th of July last year, I arrived for the first time at Mount Shasta. And as I got closer and closer, my vibration got lighter and lighter. So there was a dog in the middle of the highway with some people, and I was going about 80 miles an hour, and I drove through them, and I heard the sound of passing through them. And I looked over my shoulder, and they were all behind me. Fine, because the vehicle and the body just went right through them. And then as I got more and lighter, and Shasta was the reason I was getting lighter. Shasta has been waiting for me. And as I got to where it's closest on the road, Shasta released a boom. It sounded like the biggest and best firework from Shasta herself to say, welcome, welcome. And that's our word. That's my word for every son and daughter who's worried that they might get in trouble. That's my word for Daniel Jacob. That's my word for you. That's my word for the new heaven and the new earth. Welcome. Bienvenida. So the other big sonic boom I had was related to these grounds. So what the darkness does is someone who's like my dear mother, Mary Rose, or you or me, we don't know that the darkness is working industriously to harvest our consciousness and quantumly entangle it with its dark agenda. So a beautiful woman who's associated with the Holy Land had had that done to her, and a divine intervention was done. And as I, as the Holy Spirit, which is formlessness, it is just pure love, was trying and trying to hold her. And if I had arms, I would have reached up, but it wouldn't have been right even if I did have arms and I wasn't just love itself. Because you have to want to, like you said, have the faith to drop in. And there got to the moment in the dream time, in the healing time, where she wanted that. And at that moment, her core consciousness, which I was experiencing as a newborn, dropped into the black love, the black sea of love below. And at that moment, the earth here made a huge boom, sonic boom, because that's how real love is. And when you take a holy son or daughter like you, and you're recovered in love, that's what makes the booms that eventually are so powerful that we have the sonic opening so that heaven and earth really are one.
That second boom too, I was here at that time, and I felt it. I was asleep and I was kind of confused, but what I know is that I had the strongest sense that it was very, very good, that it was like all this love just pouring in to what, was a disorienting movement, but it felt good.
Absolutely, and it's a great example of the infrared. The infrared releases are not the earth having a tantrum or mother and father in discord. This is the one love. And the earth wants and needs to reposition and like if you've been lying on your side and you fall asleep and you need to lie on your back. The earth needs to reposition herself so that the heaven and earth are united. And so that's all that's happening, is good booms to make heaven and earth one, good booms to help the earth be light enough and comfortable enough to reposition herself in the cosmos in a way that has a new atmosphere that is Venus, and unity of Venus and earth as far as souls and hearts. And nothing in that is frightening. The only fight is if you don't have faith, if you're not following these teachings, if you don't know that booms are not desecration but sanctification. then it becomes scary. But if you trust in God, the booms and all the rest are actually blessings. So blessings to you for sitting across from me, for allowing me to share more about heaven and earth and how we heal with vibration, and that the greatest vibrations ahead are the most powerful sonic booms, and that my voice as the word will boom and boom and boom all the way in, until all my sons and daughters are tucked into the light body of the ascended heaven and earth. I'm here to take care of every country and nation. Nobody's left out. Nobody's forgotten. Nobody is on my condemned list. Justice teaches. So I'm trying to teach that one son that he can't behave the way he does where he wants to make a deal. And other ways, when Patrick John came, I had to say, you need to go back so you figure out how to behave. Because the mother doesn't know how to do that, and then you have no new heaven and earth because nobody's been taught. But Father knows. And Father says, this isn't just that I found this land 2 months ago and that we haven't felt that we can safely proceed with the one who's here for all countries. And so that's what we're going to start to shift on this lucky day.
It's a lucky day.
God bless you. Try to be aware that there's others. You look at your hands and look at my camera. There you go. So how do we do both hands, right? Now, how do you do this 11-11 for all humanity and not just for the little boy who wanted to take and is done being that way? This is a global 11-11, Andrew.
$11-11.
11-11.